missed Vivek ji. He stepped out at the right point of time. Okay. Deepa ji, we have received your Aadhaar card. We'll give it to you. Deepa ji's Aadhaar card. We have received it. I know. Ye ko. Yeah, it's an interesting point that she lost her Aadhaar card, and we have to connect her with Kaushal because she's running a very important NGO, and she's also a very active member with our ruling party. So we would want to connect later on whenever we have time. Right now, we will start straight with the session by Dr. Mathai Fenn, right? To give you a little background, right now, just few days back there was a story, right? A lady ordered 5 ratol at 2 a.m. in the morning, right? And the delivery boy did not deliver because he did sense something wrong. When he saw she was crying, he refused to deliver. Now imagine if we were China, Shanghai, or Guangzhou, our products were being delivered by drone, it would have been delivered, right? And the lady would have received those 5 ratols. But then AI had not been implemented in our country. However, there is still a major part which has already been implemented, and the companies are facing certain backlash for it. How to revive certain situations? We will invite Dr. Mathai Fenn to talk on this. Sir, we start your session finally, and we will start now. We have been waiting to start your session. Please take the stage. Yes. You can start. Sir, whichever. If you're fine to speaking there, you can. Or else you can speak from there. Whichever you're fine with. Up to you.
Hello. Yeah, okay. So I'm not a very good chairman, right? So the chairman is a person who sits on the chair. I'm mostly a person who stands. So whenever chair people are sitting, I stand. So forgive me for standing. That's what I'm comfortable with. All right, so let's move ahead with the fundamental question. We all have heard a lot about AI, what it's doing, how it's changing the world, everything. I use it extensively in the work that I do, including in preparing for this talk. I've used it extensively. But interestingly, in 2025, late 2025, an MIT study said that 95% of people who invested, companies who invested in AI, didn't even get their money back. That's return on investment at a negative. Why? And possibly one of the biases in that study has to do with the fact that we're talking about big companies. As we know, big companies like big whales take longer to move, and smaller companies are more agile, as they call it. So that's also possibly one reason. But I think the main reason is we need to go a little more behind, a little more philosophical in the question of how do us people connect with AI? What is the role of human and AI? What is the connection? So what happens in a lot of cases, and if you've seen the news is always about, will AI replace human beings? Okay, so there's even question about, will your spouse be an AI? Will I have a girlfriend who's an AI? Right? These are the fundamental questions. And these questions, if you ignore, it's going to hit you back. It's going to cause trouble because people are important. And I'm here to say, not because I'm a psychologist, not because I've been into organizational culture and organizational behavior, not because of any of those things, but from hard experience, from what the data reveals, if you ignore human beings, you are doomed. So there is a lot of talk about replacing human beings. And there's a science fiction writer called Arthur C. Clarke. He lived in Sri Lanka. And somebody asked him, do you think AI, actually not AI, Do you think computers will take away people's jobs? And Arthur C. Clarke had a very interesting answer. If a computer takes away your job, you probably shouldn't have been doing it in the first place. There are things that are there for human beings, and there are things that are there for computers, and we should all do our things. We cannot give up our job and say, let the computer do my job. So one of the things I used to love doing in my advertising class, I did, believe it or not, teach advertising for a while. One of the things I loved doing that is asking my students to design. Now, here's the thing. We all get fancy pamphlets from Titan, from Raymond's, all of them saying, oh, come to our showroom, you know, happy birthday, buy yourself a watch or buy somebody else a watch. Fact is, nobody actually opens those envelopes. Each of those catalogs cost minimum 50 rupees. And what's the point if nobody opens the envelope? I know how corporate marketing specialists think. They say, oh, out of 10,000 people, 50 will open the envelope. Out of the 50, maybe 2 will actually walk into the showroom. So that's a success. Out of 10,000 people, 2. That is not a success. So my challenge to my students are, how do you get somebody to actually open this thing? So we have different teams working on this. Some of them say, we will write free. And I said, that's what I see in most envelopes anyway. We will send it to your birthday. And then finally, there is an answer to it. Most questions I ask don't have an answer, but this one does. Here's how you do it. Get somebody to handwrite the person's name and address. If I get an envelope with my name and address written by hand, I will open it. Because there is a personal connect. Because I know it's not a machine that doesn't care. I know that there's somebody has actually used their hands.
Hello, hello.
Ah, wow, thank you. In most of my classes, when they give me a mic, I put it away because I'm loud enough. I'm sure everybody at the back can hear. There's no problem. Anyway, so where was I? People do not connect to machines. People connect to people. And if I were to ask you what is the most critical resource in the age of AI, it is people. And that's what we forget. We somehow seem to be so enamored by the things that this machine can do. It's like saying, okay, I love my car so much, I'm going to marry my car. So that's where I want to start, okay? Let's figure out what's important and what is not. In management language, we call it the critical resource, the strategic resource. The strategic resource is that thing which is going to determine your success. The single important resource that's going to do your success, right? So, madam here represents Russia. What do you think when you think of Russia? If you grew up in my generation, it's got a warm place. There are a lot of nice things that you think about it. I hope there's no Americans here. But anyway. So how can you use that? What is the most critical resource? Once upon a time, it was raw material. You would build a factory near where some raw material is there if you're into agriculture. I know people who work with spices. They come down to Kerala and try to set up a company because spices are available in Kerala, because things grow there. If it's iron ore, you would go put your factory near iron ore. But this was what? Until the 1950s, from the 1900s to 1950s. But by then, we had great logistics. The last Biggest leap in logistics was containerization. When we decided we're not loading things onto a ship, but we're putting it in a container from the factory and it'll go boom, straight onto the ship. So logistics made distances irrelevant. Countries like Japan, countries like Singapore could actually import things, produce things, and then sell them at a profit. So value addition was much more than the cost of logistics. So the cost of logistics and the cost of the raw materials. Then we came to the 80s and the 90s, and we called it the knowledge era.